unmute here, and then, yeah, if you want to introduce yourself just for the record, and then we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, yeah, my name is Tim Cahart, dairy farm in Addison with my parents are still kicking around when it's not 10 below zero. With my brother down there and my daughter, my nephew. We milked around 1,500 cows, crop 3,200 acres. I've been on the board of directors for the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition since the beginning in 2013. Co-chair the position now with Brian Kemp. Just take a second to read our mission statement, if you will, real quickly. The Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition assists all farmers in implementing innovative agricultural practices that enhance water quality, soil health, climate smart farming, and their economic resiliency in the Champlain Valley. We accomplish this through a positive, unified voice that provides targeted education, outreach to farmers and the public, advocates on behalf of farmers, environmental interests, and collaborates with community partners to achieve common goals. Since our inception, we've worked tirelessly to grow our membership, participate in difficult conversations around agriculture, water quality, soil health, and climate, and educate each other in our communities. Thank for the opportunity to come up here today and meet you all and let you know that we, want to be involved in the process. We want our voices to be heard. We want to play a key role in things that come through that affect basically our businesses and our ability to be profitable. We're all very well aware of all the pressures that are put on from all different angles. I don't know what more to really get into on that. Brian and I both sit on with Richard on the stakeholders, CAFO thing that's happening now. Lots of tough discussions happening there all the time. And hope that it all, at the end of the day, we come up with something good out of it. I don't know. That's kind of all that I really have to say personally.
Right. Let's see. First, thank you. Thank
Sure.
you for coming.
Yeah.
And thank you for serving on that stakeholder group too.
Yeah.
Representative Nelson has been keeping us
Sure.
Up to date on that. I know you've been meeting quite a bit, or so it seems, because he's been absent quite a bit, and that's how we track it. And that there's some deadlines coming up. So
yeah,
good luck with that.
Yeah.
Any questions, Tim? Representative O'Brien?
You also farm on the other side of the lake.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And does this group also, have, it's not really jurisdiction, but you have to work with New York State then too?
No, I don't really do much work with the state of New York as far as regulatory processes or record keeping. Everything that we do is within the state of Vermont that uses my land base there for the nutrients that we produce in Vermont. It's a little bit of a gray area sometimes, divided by a bridge and a piece of water. But I'd like to think that everything that we're doing on the Vermont side certainly holds peace to what happens on the New York side. So it's unfortunate. Sometimes I feel like it's we'll do practices, or I have a no-till drill that I might drill in 300 acres of cover crops in New York State that affects the quality of the water of the lake just the same as it does on this side, but it's not captured by anyone, or does anybody in the state of Vermont really care about it? But we do it over there.
New York.
Yeah. So
does anybody in the state of New York care about that?
We've gotten involved a little bit with Essex County Soil and Water, with some funds that they have to help pay for some practices that are over there. Pretty limited. There's no real teeth to it, and that's okay too. But they came and approached us and knew that we were probably one of the bigger land operators over there, and they wanted to talk to us. Yeah.
Richard.
Thank you. does your group have membership from farmers on the other side of the pond? Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So you're solely Vermont based?
We pretty much represent Addison, Chittenden, and Rutland counties. There is one or two members over the hill on the east side, but very limited because, you know, you have Connecticut. Farmers Watershed Alliance over there and to the north, FWA.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much predominantly Addison, Chittenden, and Rutland counties that we represent.
Can you say your name for the record?
I'm sorry, Brian Kemp, co-chair of the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition.
And do you work with like the Citizens Advocacy CAC?
That's it, the Champlain Basin, Lake Champlain.
Basin.
Yeah.
I mean, we have dialogue at times, you know, I think one of our directors, Eric Clifford, is on the Lake Champlain Citizens Advisory.
Yes, Citizen Advisory.
So Eric Clifford is a representative on that board, I believe, still to this day. I know he has been for a long time.
They came into this committee 2 weeks ago. I don't know, it's a blur. But they really champion the work that agriculture's done for a year. They really did. They're and eager to help us achieve more. Matter of fact, they talked about we need a clear funding source to help us do more work.
It's positive.
John,
Can any farmer be part of it who's in the sort of Champlain watershed? You know, I always was amazed that Rodney Graham, who used to be here in Williamstown in Orange County, that's part of the Champlain watershed.
We do have members up in Franklin County that are members of CVFC because they want to be involved and engaged in our newsletters and our events. And we work really closely with the other watershed groups. And so we try to, you know, we'll share their events and we get the word out. But yeah, anyone in Vermont can be a member. And we have like, you know, well over 500 people who are engaged pretty regularly with our newsletters. And these are just people interested in and wanting to be engaged in agriculture. And we've got over 130 active farmer members and business sponsors. And it's a diverse farmer membership. We have bee farmers and small goat dairies and vegetable farms and flower farms and big crop farms, organic dairies, conventional. So it's really like livestock farm. We're trying to really broaden and represent all farms in the Champlain Valley.
could you also say your name?
Yes, Kate Longfield,
Yeah.
Executive Director.
And then we don't need to be too formal, but do you guys want to switch places? Did you have anything else you wanted to say? And
No, I'm
you want
fine.
to?
Yeah. But we thought this would be a cool opportunity to talk about. So our water quality program is really robust. We are doing a lot of on-farm technical assistance visits, helping farms implement and expand a range of conservation practices, helping them enroll in different conservation programs, and recording the conservation practices from those conservation programs. We have, since 2022, spearheaded a project in collaboration with the Agency of Agriculture, because we are funded through the Ag CWIP program. We are going around and meeting with farmers and recording farmers' self-funded or farmer-funded conservation practices, which otherwise, if I'm not going with my, farm database and I'm, meeting with them and looking at the different fields and conservation practices that are being implemented, and then I go out and field verify those practices to make sure they're actually happening on the land. If we are not doing that work for the farmer-funded practices, those corresponding nutrient reductions that end up getting sent to EPA and get recorded towards the TMDL are not getting captured, and they are effectively lost. All of the conservation practices that are funded through the state and federal programs automatically get captured and recorded, and the corresponding nutrients
nutrient reductions get recorded. But farmers are implementing. So I just, in one of the documents I had sent, I personally have been, I work closely with 24 of our farmers. It's 24 out of, hundreds of farmers that we work with, that I even work with. And just since 2022, I've recorded 13,000 acres of conservation practices. These numbers like barely scratch the surface of what is actually happening in the Champlain Valley alone, let alone all of Vermont. Farmers are, some farmers are enrolled in these conservation programs and are eager to continue, but also the programs only fund so many of their practices. A lot of their practices go well beyond what the programs will cover. But a lot of farmers are, I know you both can speak to this, and all of our board members, I think, can speak to this, that there are plenty of conservation practices that they are implementing on their own dime because they know it is a good practice, because the practice works. It has benefited their soil quality. They've seen it work on their land. It's benefiting their economic operation. Like it's just the right thing to do. And they are self-funding that. And we need to, it's just, nobody's talking about it, but we need to record those conservation practices because that's actually happening on the ground.
So you're capturing it, the farmers are doing it, you're capturing it, then is that information being?
Yeah, so that I automatically put it into the same Agency of Agriculture, the big partner database that all the program practices get inputted in. So that all gets sent to ANR and then eventually the EPA. And but I'm just we've got a small but mighty team, but we want more of that work happening because that's farmer story. Like that is, yeah.
Right.
I just wanted, so for clarification, you're saying unless you reported that, it wouldn't.
It doesn't get recorded. So when you see the stats of farmers are helping to reduce phosphorus input into the lake by blank percent, none of the farmer funded practices are part of that yet, or, only a couple people. I think we are the leading organization doing this work, which would mean that I am the leading person doing this work. And that's a little nerve-wracking. I'm doing a lot, but not enough.
Kate's been instrumental in that database work. As our program director, she took the initiative and has been doing that grunt work.
No, somebody is still doing it.
So I'm going to continue doing it. I've stepped into the executive director role, and we have an amazing, one of my colleagues, Sean Goodfellow, is going to continue doing that work with me. I'm hopefully, but yeah, I might end up having to do a little bit less because I'm now in this ED role.
Do you have any insight into whether the other, like you mentioned, Connecticut River, which has a different issue, not necessarily phosphorus,
Yeah.
in other parts of the state, is it?
It's not
Somebody doing
happening very much because there's a lot of other things to be meeting with farmers about and just getting farmers to implement more conservation practices. But again, if you're not actually recording those corresponding nutrient reductions, we want that work to happen, but we also need to capture it. But yes, no, you would think we'd hope that UVM Extension eventually would be doing it, and the other watershed groups. I know the Connecticut River Watershed Group isn't doing it, but I just was on the phone with Mike Snow and saying it's not that hard. This is my process, and you should be doing it too. Yeah.
Thank you. How many cups of coffee do you drink? And I'm glad to see that you're so passionate about it. And up north in the Memphremagog watershed, we don't have a group like this.
Yeah.
And but we work with our conservation district. And they help to record some of these things, but this is a message I will take to their next meeting about making sure. So you're talking things like injection of manure, no-till,
Cover crops.
cover crop,
Rotational grazing.
reduced tillage. See, like on our farm, we received the $10,000.
Right.
And we don't use it for the total expense of no-till. We use it 100% to buy seed. And the labor and the fuel and the wear and tear is on our dime. So we expand and then we beat the hell out of the person selling us the seed to get an extra ton, so we can cover more ground.
That's exactly what we're talking
And
about.
that's an exact example of some of the larger farms. The FAP program is a great program. We need to keep funding it. It increased a couple of years ago, I think to 10,000 from 8, which was good, but on a larger farm. If you're cover cropping 600-700 acres of corn ground or more, it doesn't even buy the seed at that point. Farmers are going above and beyond, they're buying the extra seed, they're covering the acres. The seed program through the state of Vermont, Capital Equipment Assistant, is a great program. It's helping buy these no-till drills, both corn and small grain drills implement these. So they're all great programs we need to keep funding, and conservation districts, UVM, they all need the funding to help implement this. And I think, in the areas like yourself, I think our conservation districts are trying to do it. Again, it's personnel, right? Having enough personnel to do it.
Yeah.
But it is, as Kate says, without us giving it to the EPA, they're not getting the big picture. They're getting what's funded from NRCS and from the state or FAP programs. But there's a lot of other acres and a lot of other practices that are happening that we don't get credit for if we don't put it in that database.
Representative Lipsky.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Kate, I'm really from the forestry sector, and when we cruise land, it was always on foot.
Yeah.
They now use drones and this infrared and all sorts of weird new technologies, but covering 3,300 acres, you travel on foot, horseback, ATV.
Yeah.
You can't ride a drone.
I drive usually between the farm fields. Yeah. I've soil sampled every now and then on ATV, but on a four-wheeler.
Like Richard hit on it, how many cups of coffee? Kate is
I'm everywhere at once.
Go. Super organized, super enthusiastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
I really care about this organization, and I hope that you all do too. We really represent a lot of farmers in Vermont.
Well, your data collection's very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be blown away. You really would be blown away how many acres of conservation practices are actually happening in Vermont. And we want to tell that story for farmers. And if we're really going to rely on this data, if we're going to look and see for the TMDL, what percent is ag reducing, what percent is, our municipality, we want that data to actually reflect what's happening on the ground. And I really don't think it is yet.
The last thing is, there's this program sponsored by monumentfarm.com. Are you
Is this
one of the
the,
stars on that?
no, I'm not. Tim is.
They've done a great job.
They have.
Yeah. We've been watching it. But
They did get some grants to work with them for that massive medium. That is just phenomenal. That's what we have to do. We have to tell a story, and everybody tells us. that.
Doing a great job.
And there's 5 more. There's 2 out. There's 5 more coming out. So
that first one started with my mom and dad, where my dad has lost both his arms on
That
that
was
farm.
powerful.
He's the guy that knew when he was this tall, he wanted to be a dairy farmer. And what he says in a lot of those episodes that are still to come, he's doing what he absolutely loves to do every
Yeah,
day.
that was clear.
Yeah.
And they're doing that for forestry as well, the VM.
I understand that, yeah.
Mhm.
Which is great, because as we all know, there's more forest than there is ag land, right?
Working lands are critical.
Yeah.
Representative Burt.
Yeah, well, I was curious, with all these practices and changes that you've made, that you've implemented over time for water quality and whatnot. I know part of the idea behind that is, and you alluded to that with telling your story, that what's it look like in terms of relationships with neighbors with regard to that? That's not something you can put data on necessarily, but as you are implementing these things, are people understanding what you're doing? Are they showing appreciation, or what's that like amongst?
Yeah, I would say that I received positive feedback from neighbors on it, right? The manure ejection in the fall stuff, direct incorporation. But there's still we all know, or at least I would think most people would know, that's a tricky line that we're all walking in today's times with neighbors, and people that we all live alongside. And I would hope that most people take it very seriously, and that it does matter what your relationships are with your neighbor, and they know that you care about where they live also, at the same time that they understand what goes into what we do, and there's a compromise there of, our ability to run and maintain a business that is profitable and viable for future generations to come, but that we want to do the right thing for the environment too. And I think that that's something that I feel falls on an individual farm, and every farm's going to be a little bit different. And there's situations that happen that are unfortunate, that we all are part of that story too, whether we want it to be or not. So I think that's a real a challenge, if you will, for us all to navigate our neighbors and to, have conversations or phone calls just out of respect to people that we rent from or people that we farm by. Like, hey, just to let you know, there's gonna be a person up there with an ATV today gathering soil samples that we have to collect on an annual basis for part of our nutrient management plan. And so just keeping them informed of activities that are happening is critical. And it can only inform so many people about what we do, but yeah, our neighbors are important, without a doubt.
Representative Nelson.
Thank you. Jed brought up the Monument Farms piece, and I want to take this time to publicly thank the Vermont Dairy Promotion Council for agreeing to help fund that and give the grant to Vermont Dairy Producers Alliance that is telling our story, and your parents are so powerful in that, Tim, and I'm forever grateful. And sometimes it's hard for us to talk about our story
Yeah.
because it is such deep meaning to us, and people don't understand if we break even, we're ecstatic. And because we get to do what we want to do, and that's feed people.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for the Vermont Dairy Promotion Council, and hopefully they're appreciative of the work we're doing that has been done. And we can continue working and having some of our story being told here in our state.
Yeah, I just wonder about the conversations you must have with all the sort of participating sort of data collectors out there. When you think of like the EPA, the NRCS, the agency here, UVM Extension, the conservation districts, and then do they all just sort of say, well, thanks for doing what you're doing, but it also makes me think that everybody must realize that this is sort of a, just by the grace of God, a strange one-off. Like nobody's saying we should, be doing this, and they're,
Yeah.
sub it out to a group like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or figure out how to institutionalize it so that Magog's being done, or the Connecticut, is being done too.
Yeah. We all these different partner organizations that work with farmers, I would say most of them have access to the Vermont Agricultural Partner Database. And it's a map. It has, all the farms in Vermont and all the farm fields and what practices are happening on what field. It's a great database. And that is where we are inputting. So I coordinate with the other groups on visits. We want to make sure we're coordinating so one farm isn't getting reached out to by all these different service providers in the same week. And that is where I'm inputting the data on the self-funded practices. And so I think it's absolutely possible. I just think that, all these other service providers are busy trying to get farmers implementing or expanding conservation practices and helping people. Like there's just a lot, service providers are really busy. And so But I do think it will be very possible. Like I'm trying to get, I call, Sony Howlett at the Agency of Ag and try to troubleshoot, like, how could we actually implement this on a large scale? Like I know we'd need an outside person to field verify the practices, but could farmers input, you don't want to make farmers do anything else, but could farmers sort of self-report and then I field verify? And yeah, we're trying to get creative and find ways to get that data inputted. Yeah.
What's the data site called?
It's the Vermont Partner Database. There's a link to it on. If you Google the Vermont Ag Partner Database, it's an amazing resource, and it makes my job possible because I can coordinate with these other service providers, and I can look, when I go for a farm visit, I can see, okay, K-Hart is enrolled in the SEAT program and the FAP program, and I'm going to check for this, and It's an amazing database, but there's more that can be done.
It's been in the works now for 5 to 6 years
Yeah.
plus since it
Yeah.
started. Yeah. We've just been lucky to have the personnel and staffing to make it as successful as we have. And I think, other organizations probably would really like to enter more. It's just challenging to have, the staff and personnel to do it.
Yours is a bigger organization. You had more members than the other.
We might be the larger Farmer Watershed Alliance, if you call us.
So like the Farmers Watershed Alliance in Franklin County and then the
Yeah.
Connecticut River Watershed Farmers
We'll
Alliance.
probably have a few more members than them. FWA's been in longer existence than us. They did this probably 10 or 12 years before we did. And again, different demographics, different, mindsets. I mean, but we can all collaborate together, and we've come
Thank you.
to Montpelier with a unified voice in the past and, and sent letters to different committees, supporting things. I think the other thing that I'd like to stress, is we're here. We want to be a source. As bills come through your committee, we've testified in the past numerous times. We want to be involved. We want to have a voice. We want to be able to share our input and our stories with you too, and help direct that. We were instrumental in the RAPs, we feel, and we're, as Tim said, we're working with this CAPO group, he and I and one of our other directors. It is challenging. With that, there's a lot of things that may have to be corrected to meet the federal level. And it's gonna need money. There's gonna have to be money. I mean, farms, as Tim pointed out, and Richard knows very well, the milk prices, what they are. I mean, some of these structure improvements are hundreds of thousands of dollar projects. They're not 10, 15,000 in all cases. And some are easy, quick fixes, but most of those have been done. So as we move down this path, I think it's critical that somehow we've been told that state of New York has like a property transfer tax that helps fund some of that goes towards these water quality things. I don't know if that's something that we ponder in Vermont somehow, but I know there's a lot of challenges with that and a lot of obstacles, but somewhere there needs to be a lot of dollars, I think, coming forward for improvements. It's scary as a farmer to know the unknowns, as we deal with this. We built relationships with the Agency of Ag. I think for the most part, farmers are pretty happy how things have gone with our LFOs and MFOs and SFOs. And now here we are, at a crossroads, and we're trying to figure out the future. And I don't always will come up with a perfect solution for everybody. Yeah. But yeah, Mr. Optimistic. Yeah. But I just would like to say, we're here as a source. We will come to Montpelier. We will testify. We've done it on Zoom through COVID. We can still do that, obviously. So don't be afraid to reach out to us, and we appreciate the opportunity to have a voice.
Didn't mean to, speaking of having a voice, not invite you to come up and be officially at the end of the table if you want to.
Fine back
He was the only
Yeah.
one sitting in the chair in the Senate
Okay.
committee, so.
Now, they can do it.
Okay.
No, but yeah, it's just, we want to be involved and be at the table, and we appreciate all the past invites that we've had over the years, and just want to articulate that we want to be, we're here for the long road, so.
Great, thank you for that.
Appreciate
I want to mention the Jackie Folsom
Oh,
newsletter.
yeah, we're, as many of you know Jackie Folsom, I'm sure, and we've put her on a retainer for the legislative session to give us a weekly update and report. She's not
To all of our
talking for us.
members.
She's not speaking for us. She's just the eyes and the ears up here. So we don't have anybody that can be here every day. And it's a good source for us to, you know, she's gonna, every Friday evening, we get an update. And you should pay attention to this bill, or you may want to be up at this committee, and we can reach out and say, yeah, we'd like to come testify, or like I say, our contacts will be shared. So you reach out to us.
We haven't asked and invited any of the Watershed Alliance groups, and this is putting you on the spot a little bit, but we've been taking testimony on the municipal regulation of agriculture question. Yeah, I see you nodding your heads anyway, so you may know what we're talking about. If you have any thoughts, happy to hear them, you know, now or at some point later.
I mean, I'm aware of it personally. I haven't dived into it. I guess just my 10,000-foot level is, I think it should stay as it is. I don't think we
As it
should be,
was, as it
as
was.
it was.
Yeah. Right now, the is what we're working on, getting it back to the was.
Okay, the was thing. You see, but I don't think the municipalities individually should be governing, you know, ag zones. And I think there could be a lot of challenges there.
John.
I just wondered, I mean, usually it's water issues you're collecting data on, but with Act 181 coming, I just wondered about prime ag soils too, and if you're sort of tracking, you know, this whole challenge and coming collision between farming and needs like housing and development
We've
too.
been following all of it. Like we focus on water quality, but we've been following everything related to agriculture and natural resources.
If you have any thoughts on that, like
We've,
all these tiers we're gonna deal with.
Again, it's, you know, for us to keep track of, we've been following, but I haven't read all the language there. So I'm a little uncomfortable, but you know, prime ag soil, I feel should be prime ag soil, but on the other hand, if you have a farm that's, no one's there to take it on and they want to sell some land for a certain purpose. Unfortunately, as much as we in the ag community hate to see it, you know, should they be able to? I don't know, it's a tough one.
Right, did you have more? You want to share? All right, anything else, Brian, that you wanted to bring up or?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. The only other plug I would give while we're here is, you know, we work very closely with Extension in Addison County. And hopefully the Conservation District, the Otter Creek Conservation District, has got some new people. We were a little remiss for many years without a strong conservation district in Otter Creek. But we're hoping for that to revive. And so as money's discussions come through, it's, you know, those are two very important organizations for us to support. And you know, UVM in general is great, but I don't think a lot of the money funnels down to the Extension net. And again, the conservation districts. So as those discussions come through later in the year, if they're not already, it's, I think, important to us to have that support from those organizations also.
We had the federal delegation or representatives from the from Senators Welch and Sanders and Becca Valent's office yesterday to just give us an update from Washington, and then we were able to give them some feedback. And one of the things that has come up like again and again when we're talking about how to help our farmers is a package of aid money. Like $31 million is the number that I think we've sort of we're remembering that is been approved and it's waiting to be released. And it would go to farmers in the state who experienced losses in 23 calendar years, 23 and 24. So 20, obviously, the heavy frost that was earlier that year, and whatever other weather events So that, I don't know if that's something you've been following, but we are, and the agency is working on that. But it's just been a challenge to pry it loose.
So earlier in this fall, Senator Welch came to down to Addison County and we had that discussion and he told us that that money was being appropriated. Of course, at the time it was the government shutdown.
Right.
And I guess my comment to him, without trying to be rude, was, that's great. That was from 2 years ago. If we don't get money for farmers to buy feed this winter, those cows won't be here 2 years from now. And that's the struggle we see. And obviously, none of us can control that, especially at the federal level. But I said to Anson and said, you know, if the state can do anything, it needs to be quicker than 2 years from now. You know, these challenges are real. I mean, I've got guys calling us that we traditionally have sold feed and pass for looking for feed. We were organic, and these organic farmers right now cannot find feed. I mean, I had one that actually forgot about NOFA, because if we hit a dead end in NOFA, he wrote to National Organic NOP himself and said, look, I know a farm has certified organic feed from 2 years ago that has been covered and secure. And I need feed for 200 milking cows. And they turned him down. So, you know, but he has the money, you know, he's a good farmer and he's getting successful. He can't find the feed. We hear stories of feed came in from Ohio, Pennsylvania, but even now those resources. So when this money comes around, if it's 2 years from now, I don't know what good it's gonna do.
So we can commiserate and complain about the federal government all we want.
Right.
Just talking about it, maybe, you know, somebody's listening and they'll register that. But statewide, we have cleared out of the House anyway, and it's back in the Senate, the relief fund that, in theory, if we can also put some money into it, would get money right away out to farmers as things happen. And so in your conversations you're having with Senate folks, I think they're taking it up this week, and hopefully we can move that forward.
That's 60.
Yeah. Richard?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and to that end, the organic reimbursement. I'm not familiar with it. I'm sure you were, but anyways, that's been held up as well.
Yep.
And, you know, normally that money comes out in July or August.
Yep.
And I asked NOFA when they were here about getting restrictions lifted, you know, they lifted the pasture restriction. I said, great. So they started feeding their winter feed in September.
Yeah.
And didn't have much of it anyway, you know, and they've asked the National Organic NOP or whatever they are about lifting restrictions. They won't have of it. And I'm familiar with that. I've heard about that pile of feed you had that was put up organically, and then when your status was changed, they even changed what was already there. You know,
Yeah, they won't accept it without another new certification, which is ridiculous because we all know it was organic. And, you know, we don't need to go through another certification process.
is that, would that come from just NOFA,
That would come from,
the Vermont local group?
Yeah.
So they have the power to waive that certification?
if we were, this new entity, Heifer Meadows, was to fill out an organic certification and go through the whole process of inspection. Again,
With the cost.
with a cost.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you have conventional farmers that like access to that same pile of feed, I'm sure.
Yes. So what's easier?
Yeah.
Unfortunate for the organic farmer, we most likely will end up selling it as conventional feed to a conventional farm.
And, you know, your group, you represent all farmers without politics.
Yeah, I mean, I was an organic beef
I know you
farmer for 18 years and was the president of this organization for 10 of it. So, yeah, without scrutiny, and everybody's got to be together and support each other, you know, in the ag community. Whether we're supporting You know.
Ramsey Nellis or Jamie Hamilton.
Yeah, or Tim K, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice conversation.
Really appreciate it.
And we will reach out when things come up. We are gonna take a short break and be back right at 11:30 because we need to go over another bill and I want to be sure that we are giving that enough time.
What was this?